What if I told you that there are three specific numbers in your bank account that, once hit, make your retirement not just a possibility, but an absolute mathematical certainty? Intro, welcome back to the channel, where we break down the complex world of finance into actionable steps for your future. Most people view retirement as this massive, unreachable mountain, a single, terrifying number like $1 million or $2 million that feels decades away. This all-or-nothing mindset is exactly why so many people feel paralyzed by financial anxiety. But the truth is, the journey to financial independence isn't a long, flat grind. It's a series of takeoff points. Think of it like an airplane on a runway. At first, you're burning a massive amount of fuel just to move a few inches. You're pushing against friction, gravity, and wind resistance. But then, you hit a certain speed, the physics change, and suddenly, the ground loses its grip on you. In personal finance, these are your net worth milestones. These are the moments where the math of your life shifts from you working for money to your money doing the heavy lifting for you. The first milestone we need to discuss is what I call the coast phase foundation. This isn't the point where you quit your job, but it is the point where the panic ends. For most, this is hitting that first $100,000 in invested assets. Why is this number so magical? Because of the way compound interest scales. Getting from $0 to $100,000 is arguably the hardest thing you will ever do in your financial life, because 90% of that growth comes from your own sweat, missed vacations, and disciplined savings. You are the engine. However, once you cross this threshold, the math starts to tilt. Even if you never added another penny, that $100,000, compounding at a standard 7 to 8%, will eventually grow into a significant nest egg over 20 or 30 years. This is the milestone that buys you the right to breathe. It's the moment you realize that even if you just work to cover your daily bills from now on, your future self is already taken care of. This is where the trajectory of your entire life changes, because you are no longer running away from poverty. You are now officially running toward wealth. But as powerful as this first stage is, it's nothing compared to the critical mass stage we are about to discuss next, where the momentum becomes unstoppable. Moving from that first $100,000 into our second milestone is where the physics of your money truly begins to defy common sense. If the first milestone was about the foundation, the second is what I call the point of critical Massachusetts. This usually happens when your invested net worth reaches roughly 50% of your ultimate retirement goal. For many, the $500,000 range. Now, you might think, if it took 10 years to reach the first $100,000, surely it will take another 40 to reach $500,000? But this is where most people get the math wrong and give up too early. This is the stage where the takeoff point becomes visible. At this milestone, the growth of your investments starts to frequently outpace your own contributions. Imagine you are putting $2,000 a month into your accounts. That's $24,000 a year of hard labor. However, when you have $500,000 invested, a simple 7% market return yields $35,000 in a single year. Do you see the shift? For the first time, your money is working harder than you are. You are no longer the primary driver of your wealth. You have become the passenger in a vehicle that is accelerating on its own. This second milestone is the ultimate stress killer. When you reach critical mass, the external world loses its power over you. A bad day at the office doesn't carry the same weight because you know your money machine is churning out more value in the background than your salary. This is the stage of quiet ambition. You make career decisions based on passion rather than paychecks, because the compounding effect has already secured your trajectory. The gap to your dream retirement is no longer a void. It's just a matter of time. You aren't pushing the car anymore. You're just steering it. This phase is characterized by a massive psychological shift. You stop checking daily market fluctuations with fear and start looking at them with detached curiosity. You realize that as long as you don't interfere, the momentum is now statistically in your favor. But even as the engine roars to life here, there is a third milestone, the escape velocity, where the rules change entirely and working becomes a choice rather than a requirement. Now that we understand the three major takeoff points, we must address the biggest silent killer of retirement, lifestyle creep. This is the psychological trap that prevents even high earners from ever hitting their milestones. As you move from milestone 1 to milestone 2, a dangerous thing happens. You start to feel rich. Your income increases, your portfolio grows, and suddenly, the modest apartment or the reliable car feels beneath you. You start upgrading your life in proportion to your gains. But here is the mathematical trap. Every time you increase your monthly expenses, you aren't just spending more today. You are pushing your escape velocity number further into the future. If you increase your lifestyle costs by just $1,000 a month, you effectively add roughly $300,000 to the total net worth you need to retire. This is why many people spend their entire lives on the runway but never take off. They keep building a heavier plane, requiring more fuel, until the runway simply runs out. To avoid this, you must master strategic friction. This means intentionally keeping your cost of living stable while your net worth explodes. Think of it as keeping cabin pressure steady while the plane climbs. When you hit milestone 1, the $100,000 mark, the temptation to celebrate with a massive purchase is at its peak. But this is exactly when you need to be the most disciplined. If you keep your expenses the same during the transition from milestone 1 to milestone 2, the speed of your wealth accumulation becomes exponential. You aren't just saving more. You are allowing the gap between earnings and spending to become a wealth-building machine. People who reach retirement early aren't necessarily those who made the most money. They are the ones who refused to move the goalposts. They understood that true wealth isn't about what you buy. It's about the autonomy you own. By keeping your lifestyle level, you ensure your money buys your freedom rather than buying stuff that eventually owns you. Navigating this phase requires a mental framework. You must stop viewing your net worth as a spending fund and start viewing it as a freedom fund. Every dollar kept at this stage is a soldier working for your liberation. If you survive the messy middle without inflating your lifestyle, you reach a level of financial gravity where even a bad
We'll
market
dive into
year
how to build
can't
that
stop
shield
your progress
next.
ensuring that once you take off, you never have to come back down for an emergency landing. But there is a secret weapon you can use, a concept called the yield shield, which protects your milestones from the one thing that ruins most retirement plans. As you climb toward those final milestones, you encounter a new kind of weather, market volatility. This is where most people panic and make the fatal mistake of selling their investments at the bottom. To reach your takeoff point and stay there, you need what I call the yield shield. This isn't just a savings account. It is a structural layer of your net worth designed to protect your peace of mind. When you are between milestone 2, critical mass, and milestone 3, escape velocity, your biggest enemy isn't the economy, it's your own heartbeat. Seeing a $500,000 portfolio drop by 20% feels a lot different than seeing a $10,000 portfolio drop by the same percentage. That's a $100,000 loss on paper, which can feel like years of work vanishing overnight. The yield shield is the mechanic that keeps your plane stable during this turbulence, ensuring that you never have to land or sell your assets when the market is down. The yield shield consists of two specific components, a cash buffer and a diversified income stream. While you are working toward milestone 3, you should begin building a cash reserve that represents 1 to 2 years of your basic living expenses. This might seem like dead money, but its purpose is psychological insurance. When the market has a bad year, you don't touch your investments. You live off your cash buffer. This allows your money machine time to recover without being cannibalized. The second part is moving some growth assets into yield-producing assets, like dividend stocks or real estate. By doing this, you aren't just waiting for the price to go up. You are creating a floor of recurring income that hits your bank regardless of what the market says. Think of the yield shield as the autopilot system of your retirement. It removes the need to be a market genius. Once this shield is in place, the transition to milestone 3 becomes a matter of when, not if. You've removed luck from the equation. Now, you are just waiting for the clock to strike midnight on your career. As you approach the final takeoff point, you will encounter a hurdle that no spreadsheet can prepare you for, the mental transition. For decades, you have trained your brain to be a hunter. You have been conditioned to save, to scrape, and to watch your net worth grow with protective urgency. Your identity has likely become tied to your productivity and your ability to accumulate. But as you hit milestone 3, escape velocity, you realize that the very habits that made you wealthy can actually prevent you from being happy. This is the internal milestone that changes everything. If you don't learn how to switch from a saving mindset to an enjoying mindset, you will find yourself as the richest person in the graveyard, having never truly lived the life your money was supposed to buy. This is where many high achievers fail. They reach the destination, but they can't stop running. To master this part of the journey, you have to redefine what security looks like. In the beginning, security was a bigger number. But at this stage, security is the ability to spend your money without guilt. This requires a psychological rewiring. You have to start viewing your portfolio not as a trophy to be guarded, but as a fuel tank designed to be used. You have the mathematical permission to start enjoying the fruits of your labor. One of the best ways to practice this is the die with zero philosophy, the idea that the goal of life is to maximize your experiences, not just your bank balance. You start shifting your focus from return on investment to return on time. This doesn't mean being reckless. It means being intentional. It means realizing that your health and your time are depreciating assets, while your money is an appreciating one. At this stage, the real takeoff isn't just financial, it's emotional. You are finally shedding this scarcity mindset that got you through the hard years. You begin to understand that wealth is not a goal in itself, but a tool. Now that you have reached the clouds, the question is no longer how do I survive, but how do I want to live? This is the final stage of the takeoff process, designing your post-work identity. The biggest mistake people make when they hit their third milestone is thinking that the goal was to stop working. In reality, the human brain isn't wired for total idleness. If you retire to a couch, your health and mental sharpness will decline faster than your bank account ever could. The true purpose of hitting these 3 net worth milestones is to gain the freedom to work on what matters to you, without the pressure of a paycheck. This is where you transition from being a consumer of life to a contributor to the world. Whether it's starting a nonprofit, mentoring others, traveling to learn new cultures, or finally writing that book, your retirement should be a period of active engagement and purpose. This final milestone also brings you to the concept of legacy math. When you are no longer worried about your own survival, you can start thinking about how your wealth can impact the next generation or the causes you care about. This is the ultimate takeoff point because it extends your influence beyond your own lifetime. You aren't just managing a portfolio anymore. You are managing an impact. You can choose to give while you are living to see the joy it brings, or set up structures that provide for your family's education and security for decades to come. By following this 3-stage roadmap, from the coast phase to critical mass, and finally to escape velocity, you haven't just saved money. You have successfully decoupled your time from your survival, which is the rarest form of freedom on Earth. Identify which milestone you are currently chasing. Are you still on the runway, building that first $100,000? Wherever you are, remember that the math works if you stay the course. The sky isn't the limit, it's the destination. I'll see you in the next video as we continue to build your path to total freedom.